Hi everyone, thanks for watching. This video is going to be about my short stories book for Lasuru Sensei no ta pen shū. So I actually have two different editions here that I'll talk about in a moment. So the key thing about these books is the unique word count. So by unique words, I mean how many different words there are, not counting multiple conjugations as multiple words, and not counting some of those particles. So in this book, there's only about 53 unique words in the whole book. So that's really key for making this accessible to very beginner Japanese learners. This is meant for absolute beginners. Once you learnt your hiragana, you can read this. So how it's organized is that there's 5 chapters, and in each of the chapters there's 4 stories, 3 shorter ones and then 1 longer one. Now in the first chapter, I only used 20 unique words. I needed to use 20 because I needed at least that much just to write the stories. In the second chapter, to make up for that, I only introduced 5 new words. After that, in each chapter, there's about 10 new words. And I plan on continuing that in future short stories books, about 10 new words a chapter from here on out. I may adjust that as we see how it goes in the future. The other feature of this one is because it was a beginner book, I didn't want beginners to be struggling to find the words in a long glossary. So instead of one big long glossary at the end, I put a glossary after each chapter. That's because they're not likely as comfortable with hiragana yet enough to just scan it quickly to find the word. So I wanted to keep the glossaries a manageable size. So they have an individual one after each chapter. As I mentioned, we have 2 editions here. This is by actual request of some Japanese teachers. So this is the edition that I generally use. I call this the hiragana only edition, or just the regular edition. If you look inside, you'll see that there are no katakana and no kanji, none of the Chinese characters. So instead of katakana, it uses English words. So the only Japanese alphabet that you need to know is hiragana, as a lot of teachers just start out teaching hiragana. Now, I did have the request to make a version that used all the kanji and katakana characters, so I did. So this edition here, I've actually found it useful for my more senior students that want to go back and read basic Japanese but practice their more advanced characters. But some Japanese teachers like to start right from the beginning with all 3 alphabets, and that's totally fine. So that's what this katakana kanji edition is all about. The stories are exactly the same, the word count is the same, it's just which alphabet is being used that's different. I should also mention that the short story book is unique in that I actually offer it as an electronic edition as well. So if you don't quite have the budget to spring for a full class set of books, or if you want to be able to go in and edit it a little bit yourself, then there is an electronic version available on my website that you are free to print off and copy for your students. I do ask that you don't share it with other teachers, but you are welcome to use it for whatever students are in your program. As well, of course, there is the audiobook available for that. One of the main reasons I decided to create this video in the first place is I've gotten some questions about something I provide called the teacher pack that goes along with this ta pen shū. So I just want to be really clear. The teacher pack is called a teacher pack, not a teacher guide, on purpose. It is not a step-by-step guide of how to teach the stories in this book. It does not include any of the stories in this book. What it does include for each chapter of this book is 2 new stories. The first story is a longer one, and that's intended for use in class. So for those of you that are doing TPRS, Teaching Proficiency Through Reading and Storytelling, if you're not comfortable just coming up with a story on the spot with your students, you can use those provided stories in the teacher pack as at least a framework to get you going and make sure you're using the same vocab and everything that are in the readings that you're giving them from the book. The second story that's provided for each chapter in the teacher pack is meant as an easy comprehension check. So whether you want to assign a grade for it or if you just want to kind of see where they're at, again, it only uses vocab from that chapter and the previous chapters. So it's a good way if you want to ask them some questions about it to see where they're at and how much from the readings and the class stories they're really retaining. Lastly, I just want to mention kind of why I decided to make this short story book rather than write another novel. As I started doing all of my classes using TPRS, Teaching Proficiency Through Reading and Storytelling, I was finding I was having a really hard time keeping track of what vocab each of my classes was learning, what vocab was fair for me to expect for them to know on an assessment, and also just remembering to circle back to vocab they had done so they got a little bit of review and it was really ingrained. So the whole idea behind this book was to give a base. They're going to learn words in my class that aren't in this book. I purposely kept the vocab very limited. But what this lets me do is it gives me a list of vocab that I know my students know every year, depending on how far in the book they got. And that's been really, really useful in helping me do more stuff in class, just because I have a better idea of exactly what words they know. And it's been a lot more efficient with them retaining the vocab because the vocab pops up so often again, just because it's a little bit more organized than if we're making up stories on the spot all the time and brand new vocab is popping up all the time. So if you have any questions about thisたんぺんしゅう book or about any of my other resources, please feel free to contact me. Again, thank you for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe so that you'll get a notification the next time I post a video, and so that I have enough motivation to get up off the couch and actually make another video. Thanks again. Hope to see you at the next video.